In this video, we're going to be on page Word 12 out of the textbook, in which we're going to be formatting text using the mini toolbar. And the mini toolbar is, actually when you select text, will be faintly above it when you first select it. It's going to include some of the most commonly used text and paragraphing or paragraph formatting commands that's out there. Now these same buttons will still be up in your ribbon up here underneath your tabs, but the mini toolbar is a way of changing the format of text fast and easy, so you can kind of change your formatting on the fly on there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to double click the word memorandum. So up here we're going to select memorandum, and notice that when we select it, let me select it here again for you, that right above it you'll notice that here's this little toolbar, and it actually brightens up when you put your mouse pointer over it on there, and this is what we call the mini toolbar. Of course, if the mini toolbar disappears, you can right click the selection and it will disappear, it would reappear again. So notice that it's disappeared. I can right click it, and then there's my mini toolbar again up there. In step 2, it tells us I'm going to click on the center button on the mini toolbar, and notice that it doesn't have right, left, and justified like up here in the paragraph group. We're just going to click on the center button here. Once again, this is some of the most commonly used formatting that you'll have using this mini toolbar. Step 3 tells us that we are going to grow the font on there, and that is where we have the big A with an arrow pointing up on there, and it tells us that we're going to click the grow font button on the mini toolbar 8 times. So I'm going to click it here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice that the text is getting bigger and that the font size is increased. And then we're also going to go ahead and click on the bold right here, that is the B. When I click on that, notice it bolds the text. Each time you click the grow font button, the selected text is enlarged. And when you apply the bold to the text, it makes it thicker and darker. Of course, if you didn't like this, you can also click on the shrink font button on there as well to actually decrease the font size. Step 4 on there tells us that we're going to select 2 with the colon. So if I select 2 with the colon here, and here's my mini toolbar, I'm going to click on the bold. I'm going to bold 2. I'm going to bold from, and all this using the mini toolbar. This, as you notice, that this just saves you some time of moving your mouse pointer all the way up to the top. It just gives you that little bit of extra help to do this as you're actually working with your document. On step 5 on there, it tells us that we're going to click the blank line between the RE line, and remember that we left this line blank right here, so we're just going to click right there to place our insertion point there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click the bottom border button in the paragraph group. Now this button has many different names depending on what you're looking at. But right now, here's our paragraph group again. We notice that this is our group of buttons in the paragraph group. And if we put our mouse pointer over this, notice it says bottom border. Now that's not always the bottom border. Occasionally that will change depending on what kind of border you have set. But if we click on that, notice we get a line across the bottom here of this line. And that is just kind of a separating the heading and the body of the memo. Step 6 tells us we're going to go ahead and click on the Office button. So if we go up here to the Office button, we click on that. Notice that we have our menu up here, and we're going to go ahead and point to Print. And when we point to Print, we're going to go ahead and point to Print Preview on there. And we're going to click on that Print Preview. And notice that this is what our document will look like on there if we would print it. And typically, before you print a document, it's a good habit to examine it carefully in Print Preview so that you can identify and correct any problems before printing. This saves you on paper and on ink. Step 7 on there tells us that we want to move the pointer over the memo text until it changes into an hourglass with a plus sign to it. Notice that my mouse pointer has turned into the hourglass with a plus sign. Then it tells us to click on the word memorandum. When we do that, notice that it zooms in, but also take a look at the mouse pointer as well. The mouse pointer actually has the magnifying glass with now a negative sign in it, which means that if I click this again, it's actually going to reduce the size of the document in the Print Preview window. Step 8 tells us on there that we're going to click the magnifier checkbox in the preview group. So notice that up here, here's our preview group, and that's where it's important to understand that everything in between these lines, that's what's called a group, and the name of it's on the bottom. And it tells us we're going to click on the magnifier button here. Notice that currently it is checked. If we select it again, notice that it deselects that, and now my mouse pointer is no longer a magnifying glass. It says deselecting the magnifier checkbox turns off the magnification feature and allows you to edit the document in print preview. In edit mode, the pointer changed to the I-beam pointer. So in print preview, you can actually change your document. In step 9, it tells us that we're going to examine your memo carefully for errors. Okay, and once again, like we said, you want to make sure that you examine your memo carefully for errors, correct any mistakes that you may see, and then also, once you get that done, you can actually go ahead and close the print preview button in the preview group, which is up here, this big red X that's right here. That's the close print preview. That will take you back out to the main document where you can actually do some additional formatting. Once we have this, it tells us that we want you to save your document. And this is step 10. Save it. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to forego the print, but actually I'll show you on here the process of printing on there, but you do not need to print. So ignore where it tells you to go ahead and print. So what we're going to do is, if you click the Office button, point to print, this brings up the print dialog box. You would generally accept all the defaults that's on here and click on OK, and that would print your document. And a copy of the memo prints using your default print settings. You can use the print dialog box here to change the current printer, change the number of copies you want to print, select the pages of a document to print, and modify other printing options. After printing, the document closes, but the Word program will remain open on there. So that's what we're going to do. Is actually, that's the final part of step 10, is that we're going to close the document. To close the document, we can click on our Office button up here and click on the Close button, and notice that there's where it closes the document, and then but Word will still remain. A quick tip that's on there: to print a document using the default settings, you just click on the Quick Print on the Print menu, or click the Quick Print button on the Quick Access toolbar if your toolbar has been customized with that button. You can also take a look if you want to see what is on the mini toolbar on there. You can go ahead and take a look on page table Word 13, table A5, and there's all the different buttons, and it tells you a little bit of what you use each of those buttons for. So that concludes page 12. We will move on to the next page. You will no longer need this document on there, but do save it. But we will start up next with using templates.